The purpose of this video is to walk through the new attendance update that was employed for Alabama during the previous school year, the 23-24 school year, and how that relates to a single period school such as an elementary school. I'm going to show you how to process check-ins and check-outs in two different ways here, and how you can take attendance for a teacher with the admin portal. So the first thing we're going to do is process a check-in and check-out for a student. The easiest way to do this, I feel like, is to always be on the meeting attendance page. You can do pretty much everything you need from this page other than search for a student's contacts. But with the new user interface in this search bar, it is super easy to pull up that student on a separate screen. So the first thing I'm going to do is navigate over here to attendance and meeting attendance. This page is going to take just a second to populate, and what this is going to do is give me all of the students that have been either marked absent for the day or have been marked some other code. Using these filters up here at the top, I'll be able to see that information. So right now I don't have any students that have been marked absent. So what I'd like to do is show you how when a teacher takes attendance, that will post for the meeting and daily attendance side. So now on your screen you'll see the Power Teacher landing page. So I'm going to go in and take attendance like a teacher would. And I'm going to mark a couple of students absent. And then I'm going to hit submit. What your teachers will see is this spin screen, and this is just letting you know that the new update is taking place. Not only was that student marked absent in homeroom, but they also now have a daily code of unexcused absence as well. So we'll go back to the admin portal and take a look at that. So here is that meeting attendance page, and just a reminder, I came over to attendance and meeting attendance. And what I'm going to do now is refresh my screen. And I'll expect to see the students that were marked absent start to populate. And you'll notice I now have more filters here. So like I was saying, it's a lot easier, I feel like, to work from this screen, because now all of my students that were marked absent by a teacher, when they come in to check in, I have them already listed here on my screen. This is their meeting attendance, so where a teacher takes attendance. But like I said, it also now populates the daily attendance. So I'm going to come over here to attendance and daily attendance and show you that these 4 students now also have a daily attendance of unexcused absence. So for the day, they are also marked absent. So when a teacher takes attendance, it marks that attendance for every period remaining in the day, which for a typical elementary school is just one single period, but it also marks that for the daily code for the student as well. I'm going to navigate back over to the meeting attendance page, and I'm going to show you how to process a check-in and check-out from this page. Like I said, I can do everything here on this screen except for search for contacts. So if I am sitting in the office and these students have been marked absent and now it is 8:30 a.m. and a student comes in to check in, if it is Mr. Baker here, I can click on this edit pencil and check him in without ever leaving this page. If I needed to look up Mr. Baker's contacts, I can come over here and search for him. Let's see, this is Zachary Baker. And you'll notice it opens up in a new tab for me, and I can now look at any contacts that may be entered for Mr. Baker. In my site I don't have any, but in yours you would see those. You can look at the quick contacts if you have those, or you can look at the basic demographics here. So that will open up in a new screen, and you are not having to navigate off of the page that you've been working on. So now I've just gone back to my other tab, and when I'm ready to check this student in, all I have to do is click the edit pencil next to his name. And you'll notice that he has the unexcused absence code in because his teacher marked him absent. So I'm going to check him in. I'm going to click on this clock and I'm going to choose clock in. And I'm going to say that he is here at 8:30 a.m. This time is very important. I know we get behind as the day gets going. We might have a long line of students. But getting this time exactly right is very important, especially when it comes to sometime around the middle of the day. Every single individual school is going to be unique in what exact time constitutes being absent or tardy in every single period. And in a school that uses one single period for attendance, that is going to be unique as well because you have defined the start of your day and the end of your day with your bell schedule. So we can no longer rely on the fact that 11:30 is exactly the middle of the day. It's going to be unique to your school, and putting in this exact time here will help ensure that you are using accurate information. Because PowerSchool has your bell schedule and knows what time you start and stop, it will tell you exactly what percentage of the day the student has missed and give you a prompt to be able to put in the correct code. So I'm putting in the most accurate time. And here I have a prompt. The student has missed 11% at the beginning of the scheduled period. Now remember, in this case, that scheduled period is just the one period for the day. So they are recommending a tardy code for this period. So that is what I'm going to use. I'm going to use a tardy excused or tardy unexcused. So let's say this student had an early dentist appointment and they brought in a doctor's note. I'm going to use the tardy excused and just put a note in here that it was a doctor's note, because it's very important that we know which codes are accurate for counting a student present, counting a student tardy, or counting a student absent. It's telling me here that this is needing to be a tardy code, so I need to use a tardy code. There are only two of those, tardy excused and unexcused. If this told me to use an absent code, then I could use one of the other codes that mark a student absent, such as doctor's excuse, parent excuse, and several others. We do have the link to the ALSDE data code manual in our PowerSchool Alabama edition website that gives you a very detailed listing of every code and whether or not it counts a student present or absent. So for this case, again, my student was marked absent. I went over here and clicked the clock, selected clock in. The time is as exact as possible. I'm following my prompt here. The student is tardy. I'm going to save this, and I'm also going to save this flyout box. And now what I expect to see is the page will update and I see the daily attendance calculation. If you remember, I counted that student absent as a teacher. That made him absent for that one period, which is the only period I have in the day, and it also gave him a daily absence code. This is going to update that daily code as well, so I'm going to hit submit here. Now my student is going to be no longer on this list because he's no longer absent for the day. If I needed to find him, I have several different ways I can do that. You'll notice I now have a filter for tardy, and that's where Mr. Baker is under tardy, and here's my absent students. Let's also make sure that Mr. Baker's daily code was updated, so I'm going to come over here to attendance and daily attendance. And Mr. Baker is no longer listed here, and if I find him under tardy, that's exactly where I expect him to be. Now I'm going to go back to meeting attendance because, again, I think this page is the easiest page to work with and just stay in all day. All of my students that are absent are listed here, but what if I have a student that needs to check out that was counted present? All I need to do is come over here to add and search for that student. All right, so now I've searched for that student. Bluey needs to check out and go to do something. I don't know what it is. I'm going to now see the ability to put in her check-in and check-out. So I'm going to click on the clock and I'm going to clock her out. And let's say it's happening right now at 9:53 a.m. It is telling me the student is missing 68.71% of the scheduled period. Well, that scheduled period is my whole day. So she's missing 68.71% of my day. So that means it's an absent code. Maybe you know what's going on. You can go ahead and put in the proper code, or maybe you don't and you're just going to do unexcused absence. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to save this screen, and then again I'll be presented with the daily attendance calculation screen, and I want to make sure and submit this as well. So as you're doing check-ins and check-outs, you will see that the daily code will now be automatically updated for you. The process for doing check-ins and check-outs is still pretty much the same. You just have that additional screen. Now, if I wanted to do this on the actual student record, let's say again that Bluey is the one that I need to work with, so I'm just going to search for Bluey and go to Bluey's student page. And in order to modify her attendance, I'm going to come over here to attendance and modify attendance. Then I'll need to find today's date. I've already worked with her on Thursday, so I'm going to pretend that today is Wednesday the 17th. So I can do the same check-in and check-out process here. I can click on that clock. I can choose to clock her out. We'll say she's clocking out now at 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Notice that sometimes you will get a present prompt. That is just the system not quite understanding how attendance in Alabama works. It's important to know that if a student misses minutes in a period or a day, that means the student is tardy unless they get up to 49% of that period being missed, and then they are absent. So this student, if they are leaving at 2:30 and my school day does not end until 1:30 and my school day does not end until 2:45, they were not present for the full day. And for legal reasons, you really wanted to know when a student is not on your campus. Think about if you have a fire and you need to account for all of your students. If your attendance code says they were present, the fire happens at 2 o'clock and they checked out at 1:30 and you've marked them present, you're going to be searching for that student. So when we see this present, just note that if I'm deducting minutes from the student's day, then I will need to use a tardy code here. So tardies can be in the afternoon as well. So the only time I'm going to ignore and do something different from what the prompt tells me to is if it tells me present and I am deducting minutes. So in this case, I'm going to use tardy, and I can save that. And then what I'm going to do is come down here and hit submit and save. Any attendance code updates that have taken place on this student are also going to show on this page, and you can just go ahead and hit submit on this screen as well. All right, so I can do anything that I need to do from this screen, which is attendance and modify attendance, and I'll still get that daily prompt versus actually going to that meeting attendance screen. It's just a personal preference there for you. A couple of things to keep in mind with a singular period is that if a student is going to a field trip or something like that, those codes that count as student present, those will count for the whole day instead of just a singular period like a middle school or high school that have multiple. So if I have a student going on a field trip, I am going to see that all day. You can make a note that the field trip was taking place from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. if I needed to put in some sort of comment, but this is going to denote that the student was on a field trip. Again, that is a present code, so I'm not counting the student absent and I'm not deducting any minutes. And it's also going to update their daily code. Again, for legal reasons, that just lets me know that my student wasn't actually on campus sitting in a desk, but they're getting credit for being present. One other thing I want to show you is our PowerSchool Alabama Edition website. You can just go search for PowerSchool Alabama Edition, and then you can pull up the ALSD data code manual on the left-hand side. And then our attendance and absence reasons are under section 4, and this is where you can see the code and whether or not it is a present or absent